Hello, all you positive heads out there. It's so good to be back with all you beautiful reflections of the one source consciousness that creates and animates all things. If you're new to this podcast, of course, we're super happy to have you here. And if you've been listening and enjoying for a while, I would be super grateful if you would please take a moment to give us a review on Apple Podcasts. It's one of the best and simplest ways to pay it forward and help others find the show so that they too can tap into the powerful perspectives and positive vibrations we are collectively emanating. The other unique and magical way to share this show is by sending any friends you think would benefit from listening to this podcast our Game with the Universe link at positivehead.com/game. Also listed in the show notes, which will serve them up a quote unquote random episode when they click it. Just instruct them before clicking the link to close their eyes for a moment and sincerely ask the universe to cue up the episode that contains the insight and perspectives that they most need to hear at this point in their life journey, and then click to listen to whatever episode is synchronistically served up to them. I have heard time and time again from people about the incredible results they received playing the game. So just tell your friends magical results are guaranteed or their karma back. All right, all you positive heads. On this week's Soul Share episode, I'm very excited to have Hale Dwoskin here with me on the show. Hale has dedicated more than 4 decades to teaching and sharing the Sedona Method, which helps people alleviate their suffering and discover their truth. He also has a book of the same name, which went on to become a New York Times bestseller. He's also the founding member of the Transformational Leadership Council, podcast host. Hello, Hale. Welcome to the show, my friend.
Oh, thanks for having me.
Yeah, pleasure to have you. So I'm going to kick you off with my cliche opening question, and it is this. Let's say you're standing in an elevator. The woman next to you looks over, says, "What's your passion?" You have 10 floors to answer. What do you say?
My passion is being.
Aha.
And so that would be the short answer. The longer answer is everyone, you, me, everyone is pure beingness or pure love or boundlessness. And my passion is helping everyone discover that they have no limits.
I love that.
Except the ones that they hold on to. And even those are artificial. And I do that through helping people recognize that which they truly are or that which truly is, and by letting go of everything else. The thoughts, the feelings, the beliefs, the ideas, anything that seems to be standing in their way.
I love that. One of the keys in my book, The Golden Key, is I think it's the 5th, is BBB, and I often say that is the biggest lesson. One of the biggest lessons I'm pretty sure I came here to get, based off of my do sort of demeanor, and following the winks and the spiritual breadcrumbs, if you will. My initials are BBB, so I'm pretty sure that's a message I'm supposed to get and have been working on diligently my entire life. So I'm with you on that.
That's great.
So, if you would, Hale, share whatever feels relevant, regarding your backstory. I love to always give the listeners a little context.
Oh, sure. Well, this body mind was born a seeker. Although on some level we're all seeking, where some of us are seeking love or happiness or more money or better health. But I think I was born a spiritual seeker. I was always attracted to that direction, and it's crystallized in my teenage years. And So I started exploring things both from the East and the
Mm.
West, and and got a lot of benefit from it. And then in 1976, I met my first mentor, Lester Levinson, who is the inspiration behind what is now called the
Mm.
Sedona Method. And when I met him, he told me this amazing story that he had been sent home to die from a second coronary. And rather than give up, he went back to the lab within himself. And he started a process of self inquiry, which led him to a series of breakthroughs in
Mm.
letting go. And he went from a physical and emotional basket case, the second coronary is only part of his issues, to having a healed body that uh, that lived another 42 years
Wow.
after the doctors gave him weeks to live.
Wow.
And at the same time, there was this sense of equanimity and peace and love that was continuous for that entire time. And his one wish when I met him, and probably universally after that transformation, was to help the rest of him, as he saw it, discover what he had discovered.
Mm.
And when I heard that story, uh, I was deeply moved by it. And I met him because I had organized a seminar for a man named Leonard Orr.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't notice him in the seminar. It was a 1 year seminar. Occasionally they were guests, and they didn't always speak. He just came. And then I had the good fortune of going out to lunch with him and the other organizer and Leonard. And Leonard talked a lot, but Lester talked very little. But there was something about Lester that just was deeply moving, deeply transformative.
Mm.
And he didn't really say much about what he did. He just said that you sit around the table and release. And I,
Mm.
I had no idea what that even meant.
Wow.
But I had this thought that if it could give me just a taste of what he was a living embodiment of, I wanted it.
Yeah.
So I signed up for a course that was happening the next weekend. He didn't even teach it. It was taught by one of his instructors.
Mm-hmm.
And before the course was even done, two things happened. One is I saw the power of the Sedona method, and it was totally mind blowing. And two is I had this deep intuitive knowingness that this is my life's work. I was age 22.
Wow.
I'm now 69. Uh, and so I spent 18 years working with Lester directly, helping him the best way I could. Part of it, part of it is it was just me living my life and practicing the Sedona method, but I always was in touch with him. And then I moved to Arizona to help him full time as a full time volunteer. And then before he died, he a few years before he died, he turned over all his copyrights to me
Wow.
and said, I'd like you to continue my work
Wow.
and let it evolve through you.
Wow.
And so that's been my life now since 1976. And so that's the backstory. I mean, it's not,
It's incredible.
you know, when I share it now, it just sounds like a story. This, what is this beauty of being that is, doesn't really have a story.
Mm-hmm.
It's just is.
Mm-hmm.
And uh, but at the same time, I feel deeply honored and grateful to have given this lifetime opportunity to support people in letting go of their excess baggage and discovering the truth of who they are. And it continually inspires me because it's so profound to watch people just have their suffering melt and have their light be rekindled.
Yeah. Right. Wow. That's yeah, that's quite the story and quite the journey. What a soul contract is what comes to
Right.
mind for me when I hear something like that. Like for him to just hear, I'm passing the baton, you know, and you've honored that agreement quite well, turning it into a best-selling book. Essentially, you're the inspiration there, right? Um, so and well, a lot of people throw around bestseller. I don't know. I don't even know what qualifies a bestseller. I think if you write a book, you can call it a bestseller. I don't know. I've never seen anyone
Right.
who doesn't call it a bestseller. That's why I don't call my book a bestseller, because it's like it's so generic it means nothing. A New York Times
Yes.
bestseller is a whole nother thing, and
Yes, it is.
and you have a New York Times bestseller with the Sedona Method, so you definitely have done it justice of propagating it on the planet, if you will. So, could you speak to what the Sedona Method is? And
Sure.
yeah,
Sure. So the Sedona method is just a set of powerful tools that are very simple to use, and very direct, that help you transform every part of your life. It helps it helps let go of the inner obstacles to having more money, better relationships, better health. And the thing that I'm most passionate about is it also helps you let go of your sense of being limited
mm,
to anyone or anything. You it's a way, it's a very simple, easy, profound way to let go of all the illusions you have about yourself
mm,
and start being life itself.
mm,
Start uh, living life wide open. Go from it feeling like this is my life to recognizing that this is just simply life itself.
mm,
And so the it was partially based on Lester's experience, and then it's been based on, I wouldn't say it's based on my experience, because it always is the tools are all a spontaneous response to what was needed. I, in addition to writing the book, I've led seminars uh, and courses and retreats since 1981,
wow,
and um, the the basic tools I inherited from Lester, and then over the years they've kept evolving. Just because someone would be in front of me needing some support, and from that, a whole uh, groups of tools spontaneously unfolded, and I just watched it happen.
mm,
So when I first, when Lester first passed the copyrights to me, there was just one way of letting go. Now there are 5 ways of letting go.
oh wow,
And that's basically the bottom line, letting go. When we first started talking about it in the 70s, the letting go was not as popular as it is now.
yeah,
Letting go, the 12 step community was talking about it. Um, and a few other people were, but not many. But now everyone
yeah,
talks about letting go. And many of the teachers out there who teach letting go, uh, a lot of it is derivative of what we do.
mm.
We're kind of the first. We were the first ones to the table.
The first letter goers.
Right, the first letter goers. Oh, I can't say that because letting go,
Yeah,
taking credit for that is too extreme, because
it's like
letting go is
saying you invented the
natural.
wheel.
You're right. Yeah, I didn't do that. But in the self help spiritual community, we
In
let's put
modern
it this way:
times.
in modern times, we're the first one to really popularize it,
Yep.
and uh, and because letting go is natural. If you remember the last time you had a good belly laugh
Yeah.
and
Right.
knew how you felt afterwards, that's letting go.
Yeah.
And when your back is against the wall and life is just forced you into a corner,
Yep.
what happens is letting go.
Absolutely.
And
I've had that experience in recent days with frustration with a project, and then
yes,
just it kept pushing me and pushing me and pushing me, and it's like, "Oh, okay, uh, release," you know? And
right,
wow, what a sense of, like, peace when you're like, "Okay, I surrender to it. It's not gonna be what I
exactly.
think, or maybe it will later or whatever. I don't I that all that fighting and carrying and trying too hard is painful."
Exactly, exactly. So we're already doing it naturally. The difference is, as you learn the tools we call the Sedona Method, you reach a point where it becomes second nature. So you don't have to fight with yourself
First.
incessantly.
Right.
When you feel, if you feel tension building, you can just let go. If you notice you're confused or feeling lost, you can just let go. If you're, if you're, uh, in panic, you can let go and feel calm. If you're furious, you can let go and feel love.
Mm,
If you're feeling defeated, you can let go and feel triumphant. If you're feeling um, sad, you can let go and be open to life again.
mm,
Those are just some
I
examples.
love that.
And it the letting go uh, goes from being something that happens by accident or when you can't stand it anymore to something that you're just doing all day long naturally. It's like whatever arises and it passes through without sticking to
Yeah,
anything.
right.
And it's a wonderful way to live life.
Yeah,
And it's an opportunity to really live life as opposed to feel like you're being dragged behind the bus.
yeah, right, right. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, just referencing my own, because I had such expectations and hopes and vision of what something should be, that, I'm referencing, that led to me clinging to my vision of how things would unfold and what needed to happen or shouldn't happen, and which led to my discomfort and frustration and pain, and enough of it then, and it was like, oh, what am I doing? Oh, so yeah, where were you a couple days ago? No. So I'm curious, you referenced 5 ways to let go.
Yes.
Can you touch on that? Those 5?
Oh, absolutely. But I like to try to make it as experiential as possible. So pick
Sure.
up an object.
Sure.
Like, I have a pen in my hand, but you can pick up a pencil, a quarter, I mean, a coin, a paperclip. It doesn't really
I'm
matter
going to
what.
pick up the desk. So
Good luck with that.
if you hear a lot of shaking and grunting, you'll know what's happening. I've got a
So for
pen.
the That's
maybe
good.
I'll follow your
So
lead.
everyone listening to this at home, uh, if you're not in a car driving, pick up something because it will make it more uh, experiential.
Yeah.
So, for the sake of this analogy, the pen represents your anger, your fear, your frustration, your everything that feels not right with life, and or your thoughts, feelings, beliefs, and ideas about it.
Hmm.
And your hand represents your gut or your awareness. Now, grip the object really tightly with your hand. Now, if you did this long enough, it would start to get uncomfortable, but also start to feel really familiar. So that's enough gripping. Open your hand and roll the object around in your hand. Now, is this object attached to your hand?
No.
Obviously not. But if you think about our language when it comes to emotion, for instance, we usually say, I'm angry, I am the anger,
Yeah.
or I'm sad, I am the sadness. And but every thought or feeling or belief or limitation is it's attached to us as this object is attached to your hand.
Right.
It's not attached,
Right.
but it only feels that way. And
Yes.
that's a good news because what you can do is close your hand just lightly around the object, turn your hand upside down, and just let it go. That's how easy it can be to let go of even long standing, deeply ingrained patterns or thoughts or feelings.
Mm.
And that's the first way of letting go, just deciding to drop it.
Love it.
And later on, I'd like to actually take people through the experience of that first way of letting go
Mm.
from using some of one of our most basic techniques. Now, another way of letting go is that we teach is diving in. We live life as though everything is all on the surface. We don't realize that the there is much more to life than what appears on the surface. And that's especially true with our inner life. And if you dive into the core of any emotion, what you can discover is yes, at the top is all this contraction and frustration or fear or anger, but at our core, there is emptiness and light.
Mm.
And so when you dive into the core of any emotion, it's like touching a soap bubble and it pops. And
Mm.
you're left with that profound peace and light that is your basic nature.
Mm.
Another way of letting go that we teach is called welcoming. And welcoming is just allowing what is to be as it is. And that's something that you can be doing, so to speak, all the time, because as you just allow what is to be as it is, there's a sense of openness and flow and synchronicity
Yeah.
and naturalness
Right.
that just happens by itself. And whatever is arising, if it's allowed or welcomed or noticed as opposed to resisted or gripped onto, it just passes through. And then also everything that appears and we just call that welcoming.
Mm.
uh, and then the next and again, these all just evolved since the early 90s,
Mm-hmm.
when Lester gave me his copyrights. As I continued to work with people, because I was already an instructor in his organization, and then when he died, the organization ended, and I had already started a new one
Mm-hmm.
called Sedona Training Associates, and I was already leading seminars before he passed. But after he passed, the all these different ways of letting go just occurred spontaneously in seminars and then
Amazing.
got perfected. And then, so the other way of letting go that we teach is called holistic releasing, and it's based on the premise that everything that appears in life has its opposite. That's the nature of this illusion that we call life. And so, and some of it is necessary for functioning. Now and then is necessary for functioning. Here and there is necessary for functioning.
Right.
Even though they're part of the illusion, they're necessary for functioning. But we've added layers upon layers upon layers of that on top of it. Anger and hate, sadness, sadness and love, fear and courageousness. Just to name a few. And what happens in life is generally we try to cling to the positive and reject the negative.
Right.
And that gets us into trouble, ties us into knots. But,
Yeah.
uh, you know, uh, you, everything is whole. It's heads and tails of the same coin. So when you embrace both what appears to be the problem and its opposite,
Yeah.
in embracing it, they actually dissolve each other, like positive and negative charge,
Right.
or like matter and antimatter.
Yeah.
So as you welcome both sides of any polarity, it collapses,
Yeah.
revealing openness or emptiness or beauty or space.
Yeah.
And then the last way of letting go is, we call it the fifth way, because it was the fifth way that was discovered of
It's
letting
clever.
go. Oh yeah, it's rocket science.
Straight to the point.
And that is comprised of a series of questions that help you, first of all, see that you're not any particular object. You're that which is aware of it.
Yeah.
And then beyond that, you can discover that you're not even that which is aware of it. You are all of it.
Mm.
And the sense of you, even though it's part of it, isn't your real essence.
Yeah.
The essence is this one non-dual wholeness or energy
Mm.
that all is.
Mm.
And so we help people dissolve this sense of me or limit and all the limitations attached to it, and recognize the beauty of the freedom that already is.
Mm.
And so those are the 5 ways of letting go.
I love those. I love those. Um, what was the second one again?
The second one I mentioned, it was diving in.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So it's letting go, deciding to let go, welcoming, diving in, holistic releasing, and the 5th way,
Mm.
which is really no way.
Yeah. Right. Right. Yeah. I love how it sort of paints the picture of, you know, you have two opposing forces, and once both are sort of accepted, it just creates like, you know,
Yes,
there's just you think of the idea of like, oh, time and timelessness is the state beyond the illusion we often refer to. It's like there's no time, and we're in
yes,
eternity, infinity, and it sort of gives you that sort of like feeling of, oh, okay, that's what eternity or infinity is like. There's no polarity and struggle and pulling, and they cancel each other out, and so
exactly.
existence is beingness is.
Exactly,
Yeah,
exactly. And actually, if you want, again, let's make this as experiential as possible. Let's do a release on time.
I'd love that.
All right, great. And this is something I'm going. It's a group release or a process that I'm going to do with everyone, so you don't even have to respond to this.
Okay,
I'll just take us directly into it.
let's do it.
So, in this moment, could you just allow yourself to feel? And by the way, everyone listening, you can do this with eyes open or eyes closed. It doesn't matter. Uh, and just stay open to whatever unfolds as we just explored this together. It's very simple. So, in this moment, allow yourself to feel as time bound as you do. And then, could you allow yourself to feel as timeless as you are? And then, could you allow yourself to feel as time bound as you do? And then, could you allow yourself to be timeless as best you can? And then, could you allow yourself to feel as time bound, locked in a timeline as you do? And then, could you be open at least to the possibility that time is infinite and at the same time non existent? There is no time except as an appearance. And then, could you allow yourself to feel as time bound as you do? And then, could you be open at least to the possibility that you have never been bound by time? Okay, good.
Hmm.
Now, you can do this on any polarity in your life
Hmm.
where you feel stuck.
Hmm.
And it's very, very powerful. And
Yeah,
it's very simple.
yeah. I love the simplicity of it and the ease of use and experience, if you will. What do you think it is that creates the? I'm assuming you have, without even asking, there you have stories for days of how these techniques have benefited and created miraculous results in people's
Sure.
lives. What is it about the going back and forth between the polarities of, you know, you're time bound, you're not time bound, you know, that, you know, how do you sort of analyze what doing that create, how it creates the, you know, the positive results? Um,
Well, the honest answer is I have no idea.
hmm, I like that.
It just does.
Yeah.
But I can make something up.
I think that's a fair answer. I like that answer. It makes pride. Yeah, it makes a lot of sense.
The truth is that there is opposites are illusory.
Yeah.
There, wherever there's love, there's also hate, and vice versa. Wherever there's light, there's also darkness. They arise together, and in just even a little allowing for that, or a little acceptance of that, or a little recognizing that, the sense of being bound by these polarities just dissolves.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's the longer answer.
No, that is back to what I was kind of, the way I'm conceptualizing this. Uh, Once again, by introducing both in equal measure, we're creating a cancellation in a sense
Yes.
of them both, and which steps into, you know, the even deeper truth in a way,
Yes.
I amness, and yeah, uh, really, really simple and really profound. Yeah, where to go from here? Well,
Well, before we go to the next thing, let's do one more.
yeah,
Again, to keep it experiential. A very common thing that we all experience is a sense of contraction.
yeah,
We even when we were most relaxed,
yeah,
as long as there's a sense of me apart from other,
mm,
there is a feeling of contraction.
yeah,
And yet at the same time, that which truly is, or that which you are, is boundless.
yeah,
And so when you welcome the sense of contraction, and then you welcome the boundlessness that is even when there's a sense of contraction, and you
yeah.
go back and forth, the sense of contraction melts into boundlessness. So
Mm,
let's do that
I
together.
love that. Yeah,
So in this moment, could you just simply allow yourself to feel as contracted as you do? And then could you allow yourself to feel as relaxed and open and as expanded as you do? Remember, I'm just saying as you do. If you're starting out not being very aware of that, just do that as best you can. And then could you allow yourself to feel as contracted as you do? And then could you allow yourself to feel as open and relaxed and expanded as you do? And then could you allow yourself to feel as contracted as you do? And then could you allow yourself to feel as open and as expanded and as boundless as you do? And then could you allow yourself to welcome any remaining sense of contraction? And then could you just simply relax as the openness that is? Okay, good. So again, that's another very common place where we get stuck. But as you go back and forth, what did you notice as we
mm,
in doing this?
yeah. To me, it's, these are really powerful techniques because, yeah, I can really tap into what does it feel like for me when I'm contracted and
Yes.
limited. And that's such a potent, I feel everything so deeply.
Yes.
That's a very potent experience for me. And so I can easily go there and recall. And then uh, I also feel very deeply in a non contracted state my boundlessness, my divinity, my expansive, true self. And so, once again, these are, great exercises for me personally based off of my ability to kind of tap into these polarities with equal measure and
Yes,
intensely.
yes,
And so, yeah, I really, yeah, really value and will continue to use these simple techniques.
yes, yes.
Very, very cool. Well, I'm curious. One of the things that you do, you're a founding member of a council, a transformational leadership council. What's that
I
about?
was one of the founding members of something called the Transformational Leadership Council.
Mm-hmm.
It's basically a group of friends in the self-help community got together, like um, John Gray, Jack Canfield, and um, many others. And we decided we wanted to have a neutral place where we could just hang out together. And so we started this organization it was actually Jack's idea. And we started it in the early 2000s. And I was an active member for a long time on the board. And then I stepped away from it because I just decided that I just wanted more space and quiet time.
Yeah,
And but uh, it's it's really doing good, and it's a really beautiful thing.
yeah. Wow. And is it still going on then?
Yes, yes, it's still going on,
Got it.
and people uh, who are in this self help space, uh, who have their own organizations or their own tools or teachings or books and all that other kind of stuff, all get together and
Mm-hmm.
support each other.
Cool. So, you've been on this journey a long time.
Yes.
Um, and I'm curious, is there anything that comes up for you that feels like new or like, like you said, with your techniques, they become second nature. You've trained yourself to let go, and which is beautiful. And do you still have new ahas or insights or breakthroughs? Or is it more at this point in your journey of refining and just helping others to sort of pass the baton, like you've been doing for so long?
Yeah, yes and no. Yes, in that for many years I was helping people let go and also helping them recognize that they're not their story.
Mm.
They're not their thoughts and feelings and beliefs. They are that which is aware of that.
Ah.
And that in and of itself was incredible for them and for me in doing it. And and there was this sense of continuous witnessing.
Yeah.
And then more recently, in the past few years, even that has been dissolving.
Hmm.
And there is just this. There's no me and this, there's just this.
Hmm.
And there's no longer a sense of, uh, there was very little before when there was witnessing, but there's no longer this sense that there's a doer or a decider
Hmm.
or a seer or a healer or a feeler. There's just what's apparently happening.
Mm.
And so that is kind of the cutting edge of our work at the moment. And that is also where a lot of the insight comes. And I am also in the process of starting to train others to carry on this work. I'm 69 and I
Hmm.
don't know how long this body mind is going to stick around. It could stick around for a few more minutes or a few more decades. I have no
Yeah.
idea.
Right.
And either way, it doesn't matter to me
Yeah. Right.
because there's really no me.
Right.
So, uh, so that's fun too, to starting to bring along, and I'm doing it. I haven't found one person to turn it over to, but uh, it's much. I trying to keep it as broad as possible. I've been training for 6 or 7 years people to facilitate this. Well, I started teaching people to be instructors and coaches in this for a few decades, but I'm now making it much broader. So I do a facilitation training once a year where I train people to just facilitate others in this process. And then I have a group on mentoring to go beyond that so they can become certified coaches or certified
Cool.
instructors in this process.
Beautiful.
And but my life is just very simple. I occasionally do the activities that have to do with supporting people uh, and leading seminars or leading retreats, and that I meet with this group. And but my life is just very simple.
Hmm.
There's just life,
Yeah.
and it's beautiful just as it is.
Yeah.
And there's a profound sense of peace and contentment and wholeness that is basically unshakable.
Hmm. Hmm.
And at the same time, I don't own any of that.
Yeah.
It's just what's apparently happening, or just what
Yeah.
is.
Yeah. Powerful. Powerful. Um, yeah. Do you, you talked about you don't know how long the body will stick around and you're sort of unattached completely because it's not how you fully identify anyway.
Yes,
I think that is such a powerful thing when someone gets to the point that, death is not feared, it's an adventure yet to be had. I
yes.
often will say, when death is really a birth to the dimension from where we came, and when we were born here, a part of us died there in a sense. I'm curious if you share that perspective.
Well, yes and no. I was brought up to believe in things like reincarnation and all those type of things, and I even had experiences of other lifetimes.
Mm,
But now it just feel all that seems more dreamlike,
hmm.
and the real death can happen before the body drops.
Yeah.
It's the death of the sense of a separate individual,
Yeah.
and that you're when that the sense of it's my life dissolves into life itself.
Yeah.
There's just life,
Yeah.
which is boundless, dimensionless, timeless,
Right. Right.
and it is quite exquisite.
Yeah. Yeah. And do you view it as having the experience as Hale, uh, that life is sort of taken on a, a somewhat limited perspective, and that's sort of where you're at in this now moment is, oh, there's a part of this life that is all me, that is sort of partitioned itself in a sense, and that's what's going on here, and at some point those partitions will be pulled up, and you know I'll expand into more of it or less of it or all of it. I'm curious how you view the self, you know in that way.
I view it as partitionless, in that this sense of being a separate individual has always, it never actually was real.
Yeah.
The only thing that ever, true, if you could say that, it's the only thing that you could say is real is this one beingness or light that all is.
Hmm.
And it's but it's not real just in and again, it's really real and unreal both at the same time. But
Relative truths.
this glass that I'm going to take a sip of water from is just as much is both real and unreal, and it is that same beingness that
Yeah.
appears as this body and that body, and it's that it's it appears real, but ultimately it's just what is.
Yeah.
And what has is already freedom, is already boundless.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's a fully functioning body mind here. It takes care of, I cook all the meals in my household. I take care of our garden. I do things like this. I speak on podcasts. I have my own podcast where I interview other people. I lead seminars, but that's just I use the word colloquially, because it seems weird to drop it out of language.
Yeah.
But seminars happen,
Yeah.
cooking happens, gardening happens,
Yeah.
talking to you is happening.
Yeah.
And there's no personal center in that. But there isn't one there either. It just appears like there is.
Yeah. And would you say, you know, to deepen one's experience of, you referenced freedom, this natural state of freedom, the more we can embody the truth of these reality, that this ultimate reality, if you will, ultimate nature of reality, that is the path to freedom.
Well, yes and no. People find that they sometimes this freedom, because it is just what is always. I mean, it's the beloved. This, whatever is apparently happening, is already the beloved,
Mm-hmm. Right.
and so there's no really path to what is already. But on the other hand, there are certain things that seem to be helpful as long as there's a sense of separation. One of them is letting go. Another, for many people, is meditation. Another is uh, being kind to other people. I
Yeah.
mean, the Dalai Lama talks about that. So there are many things that definitely help with that sense of limitation.
Mm.
But ultimately, they don't bring about what already is,
Yeah.
because it already is. So it's not really a path so much as just an exploration of
Removing the
what
blinders.
is. Right, what is already. And I find that the more people let go and the more they explore that they're not just what they believe themselves to be, this seems to accelerate that revelatory thing of discovering that there is no sense of there is no separation,
Yeah.
there is no limitation actually. Now,
Yeah.
of course, there's functional things like I don't step off of bridges
Yeah.
or walk in front of cars,
Yeah.
but that happens naturally. I don't have to. I don't. You don't need a me for that.
Yeah.
There's a bus coming, you step out of the way.
Yeah.
That's what the body does. The
Yeah.
body takes care of itself.
Yeah.
So the uh, but at the same time, there are certain things that help.
Yeah.
That's why I still do this work with the Sedona Method and lead seminars and do everything that I do, because even for someone who's not really interested in the wholeness, everyone's interested in feeling better.
Yeah.
Everyone's interested in having more money and better
Yeah.
relationships and better health. And I don't know of a more effective way to support people in that than letting go,
Mm.
because it's generally what we're holding on to that prevents us from either seeing what's natural to do to solve any apparent problem, or from recognizing there isn't a problem.
Yeah.
Or and so the work that this body mind still does is around letting go.
It makes me think of, I believe it was Buddha that talked about, and I'm paraphrasing, but enlightenment is not about adding anything. It's about letting go, removing the things that are in the way of the true self uh, being revealed.
Yeah, I'm not sure what that exact quote is, but I have heard that before
Yeah.
and said it more than once.
Yeah. It's a good one. It's a good one. And it definitely aligns with everything that you're talking about here. And um, yeah, it's so simple and so powerful. And that's, that combination is a good one.
Yeah.
And Yeah, I definitely have enjoyed this as we kind of wind down. I would like to switch gears a little bit,
Sure.
and ask you sort of my go-to question. I love to hear from people. I have a few go-tos, and one of them is asking for a story of. I love stories of synchronicity or serendipity or spiritual breadcrumb, positive paranormal stories, anything like that up your sleeve that you care to share.
Well, sure. Let's see what comes up. Well, this one of the simplest things is what I found is Lester Levinson, meaning him, obviously was a turning point in this particular life,
Right.
but it was only the first. What's happened is this body mind has been really fortunate to meet other n- teachers, very profound teachers. Like one of them was Robert Adams, who was a fully realized devotee of a Eastern teacher called Ramana Maharshi. And I just met him without, I wasn't searching for him.
Mm,
He just appeared in my life and then we became close. Francis Lucille was another example of that. And uh, I've, there was a yogi that I met who trained my wife and I in very profound Kundalini techniques.
mm,
And all those things, I wasn't really looking for anything. It just
right.
came into experience. And what I find is life is one continuous synchronicity
Yeah.
that, and I don't always recognize it until after the fact. But I find if there's something that needs to be known, it comes.
Yeah.
I find that if there's something that needs to be done, it happens. And it's in these synchronicities, it becomes obvious that I'm the personal me has never been in charge,
Yeah. Right.
ever.
Right.
It's always just been part, this sense of me or even the absence of me has always just been part of this unified whole,
Yeah.
this beautiful unified whole that could be called beingness, could be called many things. No words do it justice.
Yeah. Beautiful. Beautifully said. Well, Hale, this has been incredible. And I know everyone feels um, more free. I know I do. And yeah, how do people, how do people connect with you? If you could share your podcast, and I know you do, workshops and all the
Yes.
things. If you could just, yeah, share any of that, that'd be great.
Well, sure. First off, we've created a special page on our website. Our website is sedona.com, just like the city in Arizona, sedona.com. But if you go to sedona.com/positive head, there'll be some great things, both free and also some discount offers
Hmm.
for people who have listened to uh, this podcast. And then where you can find the Sedona Method on YouTube, on Facebook, uh, and the Sedona Method book is available wherever books are sold. So that's the oh, and if you I also do a podcast. It's called The Letting Go and the Greatest Secret,
Hmm.
and so you might enjoy that as well. But again, if you want to, the best way to follow up immediately would be sedona.com/positive head.
Excellent. Excellent. Well, thank you for that. I know that the listeners will want to check that out and receive some of the free content that you have there for them, and then I'm sure some will take advantage of some of the other offerings and discounts associated with that is greatly appreciated. So yeah, thank you for doing that. And um, I do have one final question for you here, and it is this: in 60 seconds or less, what is the meaning of life according to Hale Dwoskin?
Life has no meaning.
Mm,
It's just this boundless being or beingness that all is.
Hmm.
It's beyond meaning, beyond right or wrong or good or bad.
Yeah.
It's what's keeping both you and I alive, the walls in place, the ceiling, the floor, and it's all one interconnected whole.
Yeah.
That goes beyond what our minds can put in a box.
Well said, my friend. And thank you for being in this infinite moment and sharing your wisdom. It has been profound and powerful for me, and of course, divinely timed, as are all things. And
Yes.
with that being said, thank you all out there for tuning in your beautiful brainwaves and incredible hearts. Until next time, journey well.